A new research has just found that nanoplastics actually are reducing the effect of antibiotics like tetracycline and all the other antibiotics that we know. Now, what are nanoplastics? What is antibiotic resistance or antimicrobial resistance? That's what I'll be discussing in the next few minutes. Now, this research looked at nanoplastics, and most of us are familiar with microplastics, but I'm sure not with nanoplastics. And the difference really between nanoplastics and microplastics is size. So when you take a microplastic and start reducing it to a point where in size, to a point where it becomes invisible to your normal eyes, then we are beginning to talk about nanoplastics. But just to put it in context, now if you take a strand of hair, and I understand that that would vary depending on age, gender, ethnicity, and factors like that. But if you take a strand of hair, and I'm not talking about the length of the hair now, I'm talking about the diameter of the hair. So if, for instance, this is a strand of hair, and you look at it from here, this averagely, I think, would be between 17,000 to 181,000 nanometers. Yep, that's what we're looking at, hair. And nanoplastics, we're talking about between 1 to 1,000 nanometers. So it therefore means that in the case where this strand of hair is 181,000 nanometers, it means we need to cut that into 181,000 parts to get one nanoplastic. That's the size we're talking about. So we're not talking about the kind of plastic that we are worried about when we talk about drinking water or when we talk about those things we can see with our naked eyes. We're talking about plastic particles that you would breathe in, even outdoors or indoors. Research has shown that there's more of it indoors because obviously rug carpets, sofas, clothing, furniture, most things made of plastic. So it's an unavoidable pathway of exposure. So these researchers have found that these nanoplastics actually provide an opportunity for antibacterial drugs to bind to them in a process known as adsorption, thereby making them unavailable to fight the disease for which they may have been administered. Now, tetracycline was the antibiotic that was reported in this particular study, and I find that very interesting because I think I have a relationship, a historic relationship with tetracycline. For people in places, from places like Nigeria or in places like Nigeria, I'm talking about that yellow and red capsule that would be administered when you have any stomach upset, some stooling or purging issues, which I think I've had countless times. So every time you go to the hospital to talk about running stomach or anything, most likely you would get a prescription that is of tetracycline and is it I can't remember what that second thing is, but there are two drugs that they would always, Flagyl that they would always prescribe when you go. Now, imagine a world where that antibiotic doesn't work anymore. That's what this research is showing. And bear in mind, the World Health Organization had reported previously, I think it was in 2019, that antimicrobial resistance, which by the way is just the diseases, the disease causing agents in your body, bacteria, virus and all of that would cause diseases in your body, finding a way to not be disturbed or affected by the antibiotics that are meant to destroy them. That's what we mean by antimicrobial resistance. Now, the World Health Organization reported that in 2019, over 1.27 million deaths was directly, not indirectly now, directly caused by antimicrobial resistance. So this whole research that is showing that nanoplastics, would make these antibiotics unavailable to do the job for which they are taken is a scary one. But the truth is, as far as nanoplastics are concerned, there's not much we can do. It's not, the pressure has to come from government. It has to come from policy changes that would force manufacturers to use alternatives that are plastic free. It's not a thing of saying, and again, the cost of non-plastic materials is so high now that I think putting some pressure on policymakers to ensure that manufacturers begin to flood the market with products that are plastic free is where to go. But you and I have a responsibility, and I think that responsibility is to get this conversation going, is to talk about this thing as much as we can. And I like to end these videos on a positive note. And that positive note is that, yes, we are not where we are going to yet in terms of having a plastic-free world, a chemical-free world. We're not quite there yet. But we have to keep heading in the right direction. And the responsibility you and I have to move in that direction, to move the narrative and the actions in that direction, is to keep this conversation going. So share this video, like, do whatever you can to help it go viral. See you